Hey folks, this is Kelani, back with another Hunter video, this time talking about Beast Mastery. So we'll do the same thing we did with Marksmanship, where we'll talk about what we're doing now, what we're doing in Tomb, whether it changes thanks to the tier 20 set bonuses, and how things are looking overall. So to answer the big question of Marksmanship versus Beast Mastery, what should I play in Tomb? Honestly, play what you prefer and play what you have the most legendaries for right now. If you want to swap to BM, go ahead. If you want to swap to Marksmanship, go ahead. It's not going to make that big of a difference going into Tomb, because the nerf to Marksmanship tier 20 knocked it down a significant peg, which means that it might still be a little bit ahead of Beast Mastery, but Beast Mastery is obviously going to be able to perform a lot easier in fights which have mechanics of movement. So it's kind of going to even out. It's going to balance out most likely, and neither is going to be heads and tails above the other. So play what you want to play. Now, as for Beast Mastery, we have two specs now. We have Dire Frenzy, which is what we've been playing for Nighthold, and the introduction of the new legendary ring actually brings back Stomp. So we'll talk about that in a little while. We'll do Dire Frenzy first, because obviously that doesn't depend on having a legendary. So Dire Frenzy runs with Way of the Cobra, Dire Frenzy, Post Haste, Bestial Fury, Binding Shot, a Murder of Crows, and Killer Cobra. The way that you want to play this is to keep a Murder of Crows on cooldown, keep Bestial Wrath on cooldown, keep your Aspect of the Wild on cooldown, keep your Titan's Thunder on cooldown, and use it before a Dire Frenzy, and then you want to keep things like Dire Frenzy on cooldown and Kill Command. But the difference between this build and a build with Stomp is that you can't just spam Dire Frenzy. You will lose DPS if you just spam your charges. So the way that it works is that it applies a buff to your pet, and it stacks 3 times. You want to keep this as high a stacks as possible for as long as possible. That means you want to kind of hold on to your procs a little bit. You want to hold on to your charges so you can refresh it a little bit towards the end. So you can keep as many stacks as possible for as long as possible. That's basically the goal there. And you want to make sure you have quite high stacks for every aspect of the wild that you go through, because basically you do more damage because it's on your pet attacks, and if your pet is attacking faster, obviously your aspect is going to deal more damage. So for an opener and a rotation, we'd go a Murder of Crows, and then Bestial Fury with 1 charge of Dire Frenzy, Titan's Thunder and Kill Command, Dire Frenzy again, and then activate Aspect. And then obviously, because we're running Killer Cobra, we'd go Cobra Shot, Kill Command, Cobra Shot, Kill Command, as long as Bestial Wrath is active. From there, you want to keep your charges up as much as possible, obviously delaying if you need to, just so you can keep the high stacks for a longer duration, and then keep your Kill Command on cooldown when you have nothing else to do. Obviously, don't focus cap, so throw off a Cobra Shot now and then to keep yourself from focus capping, and just keep going from there. You also want to make sure you don't have 2 charges for very long, so if you do proc up to 2 charges, make sure you spend it as quickly as possible. So if you want to play AoE with this spec, you keep everything pretty much the same, except you want a multi-shot on top of everything to keep up Beast Cleave. If Beast Cleave is not up, that's your highest priority, and then you just kind of play exactly like single target, so make sure everything else stays on cooldown, keep your stacks rolling as much as you can, and then keep Beast Cleave up, and you'll be doing a whole bunch of AoE damage. Overall, this build excels at single target damage, but it does have a little bit of ramp up, obviously, because you're not going to have 3 stacks of the Dire Frenzy right away, and it can be a little bit RNG reliant in that if you get a lot of procs, you can keep 3 stacks for a longer period of time, and if you don't get any procs at all, getting 3 stacks is actually going to be a little difficult outside of Bloodlust. But if you do get a proc, thankfully now with 2 charges, you're almost guaranteed to get a 3 stack for just 1 proc, so the 2 charges does make a huge difference here. Now, as for stats, if you're running Dire Frenzy, you want to keep a Mastery, Haste, Crit, Versatility going on for your priority, and then if you want to run the Stomp build, we'll talk about that next. So typically you will need Soul of the Huntmaster, because what this ring does, it gives you free use of the Bestial Fury talent, which means we're free to take 1 with a pack. And seeing as we're taking 1 with a pack, we can actually get away with taking Stomp. So this changes quite a few things. First, because this deals with critical strikes on your auto shots, we then want crit. So the priority would change to crit, mastery, haste, versatility. So I actually have a set where we change and we get a whole bunch more crit. We do go down a little bit of mastery, we lose a whole bunch of haste, and it works out overall because you basically just throw dire beasts at your target. So the priority for this works pretty much the same way, except you don't have to wait for your Dire Beast. So you can just throw off Dire Beast charges whenever they come up. You don't have to worry about stacking up a buff or anything like that, which makes this a little easier to play. The other thing is that Titan's Thunder needs to go out after a Dire Beast to get the most damage out of it, instead of before. Everything else remains pretty much the same. So for an opener and rotation, we'd go a Murder of Crows into Bestial Wrath with one charge of Dire Beast, Kill Command, the other charge of Dire Beast, then Titan's Thunder and Aspect, and then go forward with Killer Cobra, you know, Cobra Shot, Kill Command, Cobra Shot, Kill Command. From there, you literally just throw off your Dire Beasts that come off cooldown, make sure to keep Bestial Wrath and Crows on cooldown, and use your Aspect on cooldown as well. Again, we don't have to wait for charges, we don't have to pull anything because we don't have stacks to deal with, so Aspect on cooldown as well. The AoE rotation for Stomp build is even easier than Dire Frenzy. You just keep that Beast Cleave up and then do everything the same. You know, you don't have to worry about stacks, so just make sure Beast Cleave is up, throw out your Dire Beasts whenever you can, keep everything else on cooldown, and you're pretty much just laughing. Now, for me right now, Stomp is actually doing a little better than Dire Frenzy, and that's obviously because I have the ring, which means that you're going to need to gear differently depending on what legendaries you have available. So speaking of legendaries, I guess we can touch on those. I don't have a lot of Beast Mastery legendaries. In fact, I don't have any, which is why I'm still using my Marksmanship boots because they're really good stats for the Stomp build. The best in slot is still going to be the belt, so that's always one to look out for. Obviously, the ring lets you play Stomp. If that's going to be better for you and you got a lot of crit, that's cool. But the new chest is actually very valuable to run with Dire Frenzy, and then the shoulders are also very good still. So apart from those legendaries, any others are kind of in the okay down to meh category. Those are the 4 best ones that you really want to look out for, which really give us a huge damage boost. Now, as for any changes going into Tomb and getting our hands on some tier 20, it doesn't really change anything because our current set bonuses don't really change the way we play a great deal, and the tier 20 bonuses just increase the damage of Bestial Wrath and increase the damage of abilities during Bestial Wrath. So it's a huge damage increase when we get into Bestial Wrath windows, and obviously the more time we have in Bestial Wrath, the more that set bonus is going to do. But it doesn't actually change anything about the way we play. So, I mean, that's kind of cool. We don't really need to learn anything new going into Tomb and getting those pieces. We don't have any changes, so that's fine. We just get a huge damage increase, which, you know, I'm all for. Obviously, depending on what items we have available to us in Tomb of Sargeras, itemization is going to be a little wonky sometimes. If we've got a whole bunch of crit, that's going to highly prefer the Stomp build, but you can only really play it if you have the ring. If we have very little crit on any male pieces in there, then Stomp build might suffer a little bit. So we'll have to see what we can get our hands on, where our stats end up lying, but overall, I think item level is still going to play a huge part in what items you take for upgrades. So again, for Dire Frenzy, you want Mastery Haste, ideally. For the Stomp build, you want Crit Mastery, ideally. And if you can't get your hands on those, just go straight for item level, because that agility is going to increase your damage no matter what. So I think that's it, but if you have any questions or queries, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible, or hop on over to Discord. We have a server at discord.gg/Kelani, great place to come ask questions or just hang out. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.